Welcome to the Men After God podcast, where you will be challenged and encouraged as you pursue God, achieve success, and raise a thriving family. Join your host, Dustin, and his guests on a weekly journey to grow as husbands, fathers, and men after God. Here is your host, Dustin Alley.
Welcome back to the Men After God podcast. I'm Luke Sorensen, and we have Dustin Alley, who is your actual host here. And we are going to be having a conversation. Today is January 5th. And if you're anything like me, you most likely set some goals. I hope you set some goals for the year. I'm a huge proponent of, I don't really care for New Year's resolutions, but I love goals. I also despise them deeply because sometimes I set some goals that are way out of reach. And I realized by the 5th of January that I've made a big mistake, and I'm thinking about my choices. And here we are talking about, we're going to talk a little about Dustin's book. I'm going to pitch this off to Dustin in a second, but I want to talk to you guys about your disciplines as a godly man. If you are looking at last year saying, okay, I grew, I developed, I accomplished some goals, great. If you're looking at this year thinking like, hey, I want to accomplish some more goals. And a lot of us set financial goals or maybe some physical goals and some weight loss goals. All of those are great. I don't have any issues with those. But I want to talk today about really the disciplines of actually changing a behavior versus setting a goal. I don't have any issues with goal, but I want you to look at any goal that you set and look at the action plan behind the goal that you set. And if you don't have an action plan, you don't have an achievable goal, which means that if we look at John Maxwell says this, nothing changes until you change something in your daily agenda. And I want to look at our daily agenda. And what we're going to do is actually start into the book, Becoming a Man After God. I'm going to touch base on really just the introduction and have Dustin talk about his heart of what inspired the book, as well as just this intro. If you haven't read it, we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll do a disclaimer that we are going to, what do they call those? Spoiler alert. We're going to talk about what's in the book, but it's going to be pretty great. So Dustin, New Year's resolution, have you at this point, which is not New Year's yet, because we're talking to you on January 5th, but I haven't finished my New Year's goals. Do you have any like really exciting goals that you're willing to share?
I do absolutely. And they're ones where you mentioned the action plan. I have an action plan, but they're not tentative, but dependent action plan. So it's like, I'm going to accomplish this, but first this has to happen. And then this has to happen.
Yeah,
and so,
sure.
So the first thing, very excited about this one and unashamedly plugging my own product here. I have an Airbnb unit in Kissimmee, Florida, live and ready to roll. And I will even link it in the show notes because it's my podcast and I can. No, seriously, guys, if you are vacationing down in Kissimmee, we do have a brand new one live and up in January where I will gladly offer you a Men After God discount. Reach out to me and we'll get you in there. 4 bed, 3 baths, sleeps 12, private pool on a resort, 10 minutes from Disney. However, what's that got to do with my goals? Well, my wife and I have talked about how can we have a business? How can we have something that we love and we're passionate about that helps us into our future, helps us give more, helps us to support pastors, ministry leaders, like I just mentioned there, of a discount, and or as time goes on and it becomes more profitable, we'd love to open it up for free for sabbaticals and different things of that nature. But, that's the future. So right now, discount. But our goal with that, I'd love to open 6 between now and the end of the year. My wife says 3, and I said, okay, we'll compromise and do 10. But we'll just see. We'll just see what happens. But the goal is 3. If we can have 3 more units, so I'm hoping 4. When I say 3 to her, I think she means like 3. But I mean 4 total. So we'd love to have 4 total units operating by the end of the year. And then I have a Spartan race coming up in April, raising money for Greater Oaks Foundation for that. They provide gospel-centered counseling and services to veterans, first responders, and their spouses. And I'm going to go run the trifecta, which in one weekend, I will run a 5K Spartan race, a 10K, and a 20K. And the prayer is, assuming I survive, near the end of the year, I want to go run their ultra, which is a 50K. And so, why not? Why not? So like those are kind of my goals.
Why? There's a better question. Why? No, just kidding.
Yeah, but no, so like those are the things that I'm doing. And action plan, we shouted out John Beasley before, working with him still. He's got us on a training program. I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, and my wife and I are both doing that. My kids are wanting to run the Spartan race. They're not going to do all the ones I did. They have a kids Spartan race they'll do. But yeah, so my son did the Stadion, a 5K with me this year, and so he may do the 10K.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my goals for the year as far as business and physical. And then I know spiritually speaking, my wife and I have talked, and we would love to be more intentional with the discipleship of our children. And we pray with them every night. We talk about the Bible a lot, but we want to be intentional about it with like, this is what we're doing right now, and
Right.
maybe not as sporadic. At the same time, and Luke, you're great at this. We've talked about it. It's in those moments of unplanned, not distracted life where real relationship is built, where real discipleship happens. So we're excited about that, and really looking forward to diving into that in this coming year.
Yeah, that's great. Love that. I have a couple of goals. I love the 6 type of working genius. If you don't know what that is, it's a tool that I use at work, and I'm going to get certified this year in it. And so it was a plan to get it last year. We had a couple of changes. I actually have it scheduled toward the end of February where I'll actually get my certification. That's a big one for me because I feel like it's going to open a lot of doors. Something I'm very, very passionate about. I use it all the time in the job that I work, and I use it all the time in ministry and in coaching. And I'm very excited about that one. That one, the action plan, it's already paid for. It's a class I'm taking and stuff, but it's actually been a year in process to get to the point to be able to, it's several $1,000s. So that was a big one last year that I'm like, man, I couldn't accomplish that one, mostly because by the time I could afford it, all the classes were booked. So that one's a big one. And then I will echo what Dustin said. Last year, I'd written out 12 principles I wanted to teach my kids that I feel were core principles. And to be honest, I had a concept that I was going to teach them every month. We got through January, and I just gave up. Like, one, they weren't learning it, and two, I needed to learn it myself. And so, but I have several things this year, and I might adjust the list, but there's several principles, like the concept of extreme ownership, of integrity, of kindness. There's the things that I believe that if you don't model and teach, your kids might not get. And I really want, when I am gone, I want my kids to know that there were certain things that I lived by, that not only did I live and model, but I also taught them and expected of them as individuals. So those are some big ones for me. So obviously big enough that it's going to take all year to get it done. So yeah.
Love it. That's awesome, man.
Let's talk about the book, though. So we're about to go into, for the next several months, we're going to be talking about the book, and it's really not as a plug for the book. It's because there's quality content in the book. And before we get into the actual content of the book, I really want to ask Dustin, where did the idea of the book, the heartbeat behind the book, for as long as I've known Dustin, he's been passionate about being a resource and adding value to men, and not just, I gotta take a step back. A lot of times from a church perspective, there's this concept like, we just want you to be spiritually strong. And we do. We want you to be spiritually strong, be ready to fight the battle, put on the whole armor. All those things are great, but we also understand there's life, there's bills, there's relationship, there's family, there's conflict, there's drama, there's everything that's out there. So it does take balance as a man after God to walk with God, to live the daily disciplines of a Christian man while dealing with faith and finances and all this stuff. So, Dustin, I've known your heart for a long time, but to be honest, I don't know where the book came from. So I'd love to hear, hey, where the idea come from? What was the main idea? What was the light bulb moment that said, hey, I'm an author now?
I'm an author now. You know how you talk about, or you looked at me like, why run this?
Why
write the book? Why write a book? Why be an author? Unless you're killing out there with like Maxwell and some of those other guys, let me just tell you, it's not a lucrative profession. However, it's a fulfilling one. And so why write the book? I experienced 6 months of I was destroying myself in the name of accomplishing great things for God. And I started a doctoral program. I was pastoring my church. I was still a husband, I'm a father of 3 kids. I was teaching at my alma mater online. And in fact, that semester they reached out to me and said, hey, we have so many students signed up. You're going to have to take 2 classes. I'm like, oh, sure. That'll be easy. I said yes to teaching Bible for 11th and 12th grade boys at the Christian school I currently serve full time at now. But I was teaching there Monday through Wednesday. I had gotten my Maxwell certification that year as well. And I was doing leadership development for the C-suite of the local Boys and Girls Club on Thursday mornings. And I had really, and I was working my digital marketing company at the time. And so I had really put myself in this position to where every day I woke up, there was a deadline. Something needed to be written, something needed to be graded, something needed to be taught. There was never a day. And I don't just mean like there was like, I got up on Saturday and, I had some stuff to do around the house. No, there was never a day where a non-family, non-home oriented activity did not need to be accomplished. And it was time consuming. There was always something on my mind that needed to be done. And it eventually led to December of that year. I almost passed out of my house. I had went and taught that morning. I wasn't feeling that great, but I taught at the school. I came home and I'd been studying for a bit, and I laid down on the couch for a minute, and I got up. I went to the bathroom in our kitchen, and when I walked out, I was on our kitchen island there, and I'm seeing stars. I'm lightheaded, like I'm done. This is it. This is how it ends. My wife was downstairs and I called for her by name, and which my wife, I call Babe all the time. She knows if I call her name, like this is an emergency. So she runs up and she's like grabbing oranges and looking for smelling salt, like anything to keep me awake. And I'm having to take deep breaths. Like I'm on the verge of passing out. I've almost passed out from G-forces before. And if you've never done that, the Bugs Bunny cartoons where they're doing that and it's closing in, getting darker and darker in a circle, that's exactly what happened to me in the plane. And now it's kind of happening when I'm standing in my kitchen and I sit down and I finally come to myself, and I'm okay, but I had a cold sweat. I mean, I was done. Went to the doctor and she says, well, you're exhausted and dehydrated. I go, oh, okay, yeah, but I knew that. So now what? What do we do? But it had gotten to a really bad point. I was contacted a spiritual mentor, met up with him in Massachusetts, and we grabbed lunch and coffee that day. And he just heard me out, prayed with me, shared scripture with me. And it was there he talked about David, and he talked about a few things that are similar to. In fact, I did a podcast with him, Tim Owens, a good pastor up there in Vermont. But I did a podcast with him early on, and that he had a framework he talked about that kind of fueled my thoughts and ideas. And I went to the Lord in prayer, and my prayer was God, I am doing all of this for you. Right. I was extending our church's reach into the community of the Boys and Girls Club. I was impacting the next generation through my alma mater and teaching at the high school. I'm getting my doctorate to further my own education and ability to be able to lead and preach and teach as a pastor and as a ministry leader. I'm husband and father, and that was probably hurting the most. But as God, and the business was in order to increase the income to offset the money the church had to pay to be able to also fund other ministries and mission that we wanted to accomplish. And so God, this is all for you. Why can I accomplish this? Why am I failing? Why did I almost pass out? And it was almost, I don't hear from God audibly, but it was one of those moments where I felt like God was just speaking directly and just said, Dustin, right. You're doing all this for me, but what are you doing with me? Oh, that's a really great question. And it, the scripture that came to me was abide in me and I will abide in you. And right. Was so busy doing, I had no time to abide. And so I said, okay, God, well then with my life, what are the things that you would do with me? What do I need to do with you? And that was where I, spent some time in prayer and reading and writing and just kind of came to this 5-point framework of, deepen your relationship with Jesus, devote time to your family, develop yourself, deliver value to others, and do nothing for Jesus. That came out of that, time of desperation of what do I do now? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to pay more attention to? And I realized if I can't do these 5 things in my week, or if one of them is slipping, then I'm off balance. I'm not, holistically is the word I like to use, holistically following Christ. I'm more of that. I'm overloaded in an area.
Yeah, I know we're talking to a lot of men who, when you're telling your story, one is either they've been there or they are there, meaning that they
Mm.
have had that moment of complete mental breakdown, or potentially we're talking to pastors, we're talking to men after God, you're working full time, you've got that, you've got your family, you got your kids, your wife, all these different priorities, but also nothing that you're doing is bad. It's not
No.
even like you're
Yeah.
wasting time. You're not even,
Right.
it's just completely, your schedule is full. And by the way, there's always little tools to make things easier, better, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Moderation in all things, right? There's some
Yeah.
biblical principles here. And what I'm going to say is this, for the sake of time today, because we're not going to be shooting long podcasts, we're going to really focus on this. I
So
want
we
to
already broke
go.
that 15-minute mark.
We did. By the way, we already knew we were going to. So for those of you that are shouting and dancing, celebrate. We're celebrating with you. It's okay. Anyway, so I want to talk about this because the introduction to the book is really simple, but I want it to start your year out. So here's a fresh look at your year. Before you get to the place where you're in a mental, physical breakdown and you have to say no to things because you cannot do them. God's going to make you lie down in green pastures if you are not mindful and listening to him. Obey every impulse of the Holy Spirit. But if you start asking yourself the questions like Dustin did, that says, hey, God, what am I supposed to say? Like, what am I supposed to do with you? What am I not supposed to do without you? And a lot of it is, if you look at your schedule, you look at your priorities, and we understand all of us are in a place financially where we need to work a job. But I'll be honest, if all I did was work a job, if that's all I had to do was pay bills, to be honest, life would be pretty easy. And I understand each of us are in different places and jobs, financial. I get that, right? But I get to have a relationship with my kids. And I can work my job and completely ignore my kids because I'm doing other things that are good, leading a men's Bible study, serving here at church, all the things that we can fill in, but that's not what God necessarily wants us to do. So if I could take a list of all the things that I have on my weekly, monthly, daily schedule, say what things were given to me by God that are, hey, I need to do this, and what things were given to me by me saying, I don't have the discipline to say no to something, right? And so for Monica who's listening to this, you can just skip the rest of the podcast because this is all very personal to me, in the sense of I struggle saying no. I want to say yes. My heart, the enabler in me, wants to serve other people. But a lot of times, to say yes to serving someone here is to say no to serving someone there. And I know Dustin, I know me, oftentimes to say yes to serving in different opportunities that I think are good things. God has opened the door of opportunity for me to go not take care of my kids, my relationship with my spouse, my relationship with the Lord, because you're going to sacrifice one. We all have 24 hours in the day. How you use it is going to dictate your priorities. And oftentimes we choose what is either easiest or what feels good, not what is best and what is of him and for him, for his glory and for our good. So Dustin, speak to that, but then walk us through you have a little introduction to the book. You talk about Daniel and Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
So you can talk to what I said. And then I want to walk into like, hey, as we go into the year, just a real clean perspective of that principle.
Yeah. So first thing in saying yes to things and saying no to things is determining, the why behind it. And more importantly, let me say it this way, the who behind it.
Yeah.
When we make a decision, we need to ask ourselves, who am I going to become because of this decision I'm making? And that's where the heart of becoming a man after God is
Right.
helping you to become the man God made you to be, not the man God made someone else to be. I love systems and automation, and my ChatGPT overview for the year highlighted that as I was building out systems for a number of things this year. But one thing that you can't systematize is an individual's relationship with the Lord and his sanctification or growth. And that's individual to you. That's your own journey. So when you're making decisions and you're setting goals and you're trying to accomplish things, it's asking, who am I going to become because of this? And when you establish who you want to become, then you begin doing the things that type of person does. And this isn't a fake it till you make it.
That's good.
Like there's days in a sense of where, like, I don't know about you, I wake up and I know, like, I'm not having a good day today. And it's not because of anyone else It's because I've woken up and I'm not happy for whatever reason. Maybe I didn't sleep well. Maybe I had a bad dream. Maybe I went to bed late. Maybe I just woke up and I want to act like a 13-year-old girl that doesn't know how to control her emotions and say, I'm having a bad day today. Don't talk to me. Whatever it might be, right? You're having a bad day. But then you go through the day and like, I'm not going to walk into a room. I shouldn't walk into the room with my kids and project that on them. I'm not going to go to work and look at my boss back. No, boss, I'm having a bad day today. You don't get to talk to me. That's not going to work, right? And that's still not faking it. That's leadership. That's stepping up and saying, hey, this is not who they need me to be right now. I'll take care of my emotions later. I'll take care of my problems a little bit later, but I'm going to take care of them right now. And so that's not faking it till you make it either. But doing things that's not typical for you because it's part of who you want to become, that's growth. That's not being a hypocrite. That's sanctification.
It's maturity.
That is exactly what you need to be doing. And so determining who you're going to be helps you say yes and no and establish your goals. The other thing is discipline. And I'm thankful for the Marine Corps giving me the opportunity to learn discipline. But some of you don't have that opportunity or didn't go through that. And so you have to find it different ways. And I'm sure God can teach you and you can decide, or someone can help you with disciplines. But it took the military for me to get that. And that's something that Daniel and Warren Buffett both had in common, is they were very disciplined, very routine, very it was like custom, I guess, but it was something they did all the time. And Warren Buffett is known for having, like, I think it's the same breakfast or lunch. It's breakfast. He has a McDonald's and a Coke for breakfast. Often, every day. Like that's what he does. And then Daniel's one that was so disciplined in a time where he could have ate like a king, literally chose to forego that because of who he was, because of who God made him to be and who he wanted to become. And that shaped Daniel into the man that could go into the lion's den with that type of faith, who, that's the other thing we have to understand is the things we're doing, the decisions we're making, like not eating the king's meat, not partaking of the things we shouldn't partake in mentally, spiritually, physically, not looking, not listening, and then doing the things that we're supposed to do, whether it be working out, spending time with the Lord, worshiping the Lord, going to church, leading our families, in these small moments, like saying, hey, I'm not going to eat your food. I'll eat my own food and I'll show you the results, right? Enabled him to be the same Daniel that said, hey, you told me I couldn't worship. I'm going to worship.
Right.
Had Daniel not made the decision to be the man that didn't eat the king's meat, I wonder, would he have been the man that could have made the decision to worship when he was told he couldn't? We can't neglect those little decisions we have to make, and they need to be based on who we are becoming. And that's what this book is meant to do, is to help you recognize who God's made you to be, to give you a framework, not a system, not step-by-step instructions, because I can't give you those. Yeah. But you can find them in the Word of God by living for the Lord and by failing and getting back up and keep going and trying again and never stopping, because that's failure. Failure is not making a mistake or messing up. Failure is stopping before God calls you to stop.
Yeah, that's good. We do, in our company I work for, do a lot of leadership training, a lot of leadership development. We have a leader in our company, and he's up at the top one of the C-suite, and he says something almost every time he starts a leadership. It does a lot of leadership training all throughout the company, but he'll do this. It has a slide in every one of his trainings. He says this thing, hey, leadership is aspirational, meaning that you don't ever arrive and there's never an end point. You're always striving. There's always something you can work on. And I'm going to take this back to the reason that the book is called Becoming a Man After God is because you are always becoming a man after God. And so a lot of people, if you think, let me just say this, if you think that you're a man after God, you just became not a man after God. Like there is, if you think you've arrived, you've not. And so what we want to encourage you is you're going to the new year, and there's a line here by Warren Buffett. I really love it. He says, you don't have to be smarter than the rest. You have to be more disciplined than the rest. And I understand there's a concept of, like, I don't want to put your relationship and your walk with the Lord, your family, as a duty or a checklist. That's not what I'm saying here. But I will say there are rhythms, and John Beasley is a rhythm guy. I love this word rhythm. There are things that you can do in rhythm, in sync, where it makes it natural, organic. It's a priority to you. It's so important to you. What is funny is that I know as men, we do what's important to us. Now, I'm not saying we get to do whatever we want all the time, but I'm just saying if I really want to do something, if I really want to buy something, I love, Monica is very, very generous in the fact that she lets me do a lot, and we'll talk about it, but I go buy it. I'm a grown man, right? Now there are things that we buy that we talk about, but the concept is that we need to be able to be in sync with the Lord in our walk and all that, and our discipline. So when we're talking about this concept of discipline, this is your year. You say, well, I've heard that every year. I'm a Cowboys fan. No, I'm not talking about the Cowboys. I'm talking about the fact that if you decide to put some daily behaviors, daily disciplines into your walk with the Lord, into your relationship with your children, with your church, with your spouse, not in that order, but you decide to prioritize based on what you know you should do, and start saying no to things that are going to pull from the things that you know you should do. This is where God's going to bless that. And you say, well, you don't understand all the time, and I got all this stuff. No, I get that there's a ton going on, but I'm saying that God is the one who, when there's nothing left in the barrel, he's the one who provides the flour. When there's nothing left, there's no oil left, it's his provision. What I need to do is just obey. And my pastor says this all the time. I really love it. It's one of my new favorite quotes. Pastor Robbie Green out of Levon Drive Baptist Church says, when you don't know what to do what you know to do. And I believe the premise of this book is the concept of there's going to be a lot of things that are specific to me that are not specific to you. My walk with the Lord is unique as my fingerprint. Dustin's walk with the Lord is different than mine. It's still a relationship, but what he might struggle with or what he might be good at is going to be different than what I might struggle with, what I might be good at. And to look at this year saying, hey, if I'm going to prioritize my relationship and walk with the Lord and becoming a man after God, what needs to change? Because sometimes we're in a place where we've got nothing left to give, and God's like, I'm not asking for anything except for let me do it with you. Come do it with me. When he said that line at the beginning, you're talking about that, like, hey, and it's just the impulse of the Holy Spirit, right? I was thinking about my kids. How many times I just want to spend time with them, right? And they just want to do their own thing. And the value of how many times God wants to just spend time with us, and yet we're just off gallivanting around doing our own thing. God's not going to change, and he's not going to move. Now he's moving, but he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So our opportunity to say, hey, what's it going to take for me to become a man after God? Well, it's going to take the understanding that you never become a man after God. You're always becoming a man after God. It's a continual sanctification of me becoming more like Christ until the day that I'm in heaven. I'm always going to be becoming more like Christ. And that's where the book.
Absolutely, man. You hit it on the head. It's a constant season of growth.
Yes.
The highs, the lows, it's all who you're becoming, and who you're becoming is based upon the decisions that you're making and the things that you're doing daily. And we have to recognize that and be willing to intentionally make decisions to holistically follow Jesus. I'll close with this because this is important. As you read the book, as you listen to the podcast about this, you need to know that we are made in the image of God. The trichotomy of man is how it's described. I believe we have mental, physical, spiritual is the easiest way to describe that. And I used to draw the circle and put like the peace sign in it and divide that up into 3 different sections and say, okay, well, my spiritual life is good, but my physical life's not so great. Or, hey, I'm really doing good physically right now, but my spiritual life's a little low. And then one day it just hit me. There's actually no divider there. They all 3 exist at the same time in the same place. So becoming a man after God, living for the Lord, is not about taking care of one part of our body to the neglect of the other. It is about taking care of all parts of our body that God has given us. And that's stewardship. That's stewardship of our health, of our life, and of what God has given us. So, you can say my checkbook is great, my 401k is amazing, and my physical life is good. But if your spiritual life is down, then you got nothing. You're still down. It's not like one can be better than the other. they all impact you. And I love the biblical worldview aspect of this, if when we go back to see how all of creation works together. And, the idea, again, I mentioned it before, of just how what we eat impacts our mind and the way that we feel
Right.
and things of that nature. God made us as an interconnected being to have all those things working together to live to our maximum potential that he has given us. Now, don't hear that and hear me saying health, wealth, prosperity. I want to be very, very clear. That's not what I'm saying. And that's why I phrase it the way I do. To the maximum potential God has for us individually. It's different for everyone. It may not be God's will for you to make $1 million and to be able to drive these fancy cars or in a yacht or live in an amazing home or what it may be. I do know the Bible promises an abundant life, but let's be very careful how we define abundance.
Right.
But let's live with Jesus as we go through this life, holistically following him and taking care of what he's given us.
Yeah. I think there's so much value. I would encourage you, men, as we reflect on this episode, hey, what did you love? What did you learn? And what are you going to do with what you learned? Because we are in a consumer world. It's easy to consume. And I'm thrilled and grateful that you're listening to this podcast. Let me say thank you for that.
Yeah.
But if you're just listening it to check a box if you're expecting this to fill your spiritual bucket, your spiritual quota this week, I promise this is not it.
Nope.
We want to help you. We want to add value, but your relationship with God is not going to be defined by whether you listen to the Men After God podcast this week. But what you did with what you learned might be something that starts a deeper relationship with God as you become a Man After God. So we'll talk to you next week. We are thrilled to have you as our listeners. Please reach out if there's a way that we can pray with you or be supportive. And again, we'll throw the link to the book in the show notes just so you have access. Would encourage you to get it for yourself, get it for a friend. And it's not because we need book sales. It's not. It's just there's a lot of good value. This was in the first 3 pages. Welcome to becoming a Man After God.
Thank you for listening to the Men After God podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and keep up with the show by following us at facebook.com/Men After God. You can also reach out to Dustin personally at Dustin@seekconsulting.us with any questions or for coaching on being a man after God. Until next time.